Hi all, Happy New Year. Lee Varis here with Phototech Tuesday. It's standing up today. My desk is now a standing desk. Each week I'll be posting a new video about photography, technology, art, and more. Today we're trying to stay warm during this Arctic vortex weather, and that means staying inside for some tabletop photography. I thought I'd share some exotic lighting techniques with the super low budget flashlight system. This is a fun project for exploring light in the warmth of your home using only a simple flashlight as your lighting kit. I'll show you a couple of different strategies for developing interesting still life photos and enhancing the lighting effects in post. All right, let's get started. All right, we're going to stay out of the cold, out of this Arctic vortex, and stay warm in the basement here where I have my little still life setup, so come on down. All right, here is my fairly elaborate setup. Just simple white cardboard here. This is the extent of my high-tech lighting system here, is just this little flashlight. So I'm going to do some amazing pictures with just a little flashlight. All right, and my setup here is a couple of A-clamps on a stand, and we're good to go. And now we're going to take some pictures. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this flashlight and just shine it through the glass, catching some shadows and reflections and things on the back wall surface here, and just explore everything I can do with a single light source here. It's very cool. All right, let's get going. All right, so here's my first shot. Simply pointing the flashlight through the wine glass. I've got this shadows and reflections and all this very kind of interesting stuff happening on the back surface, the white card that I put up there. And just by moving the flashlight, you can kind of get different effects. I'm going to move the shadows around. If you light the back wall instead of the glass, so instead of shooting through the glass, we simply illuminate the back wall, we'll get this. Okay, so now it becomes really much more interesting when we later bring these images into Lightroom and into Photoshop to do the enhancement. So if I'm here in Lightroom and I've got these three different shots. This is a very cool little thing you can try, and you can explore this on your own. So all of these shots taken from the tripod mounted camera, so there's no movement in between each shot other than the lighting direction. So if we select all of these images and then I can go and open them as layers, you can do some really interesting things. So photo edit in, and as you can see all the applications I've got to edit these photos. I'm simply going to open as layers in Photoshop. So we will do that. And go into Photoshop. And here are my layers. So here's the first shot, the second shot, and the third shot. And now let's see what kind of trouble we can get into here. So I'm going to start at the bottom here. And this next layer, I'll just turn it on. And we can play around with blend modes, how these layers get combined. Or I could simply reduce the opacity. If I reduce it to 40% or so, let's say 50%, I get half of each, and they all blend together transparently. But I could also do something like multiply, or in this case, if I use darken, what it's saying is the pixels in this layer, this new layer, that are darker than the underlying layer, those are the only pixels that we will see. So in essence, I'm covering up some of the highlights of the glass. And the glass didn't move, but I'm covering up some of the highlights because they don't appear in this second layer. And where I can add the darkness into the background from the other shot, I will blend it in. So you can kind of see now I've got kind of both of these reflection shadows happening at once. And then my last one, well, we could certainly blend that through doing something like lighten, but that obscures too much of the image. So I'm actually thinking instead what I'll do is I'll use a layer mask to isolate this layer. So instead of throwing the whole layer covering up everything or using a blend mode to combine it, I mean, both of these things work. Instead, I'm going to put it back in normal. I'm going to hide the whole layer with a black layer mask. So I'll hold down the Option or Alt and click on that layer mask icon there. And now I've hidden that layer. And now I can get a brush, and I'll paint with white into the layer mask to reveal the brightly lit glass. So I also want that stem, so I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to click once, hold down the Shift key, and click again to get that straight line there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and reveal all of the rest of this from that top layer. Has kind of interesting light on it. And we'll do the same thing on the inside. Maybe I'll make the brush a little bit bigger. And I'm just brushing in the portion of that top layer that I want to see. So I'll leave it kind of dark around it. And, you know, maybe I'll add a little bit of that lightness back in here, just to give that a little more interest. And now that's my final. Okay, so next we're going to look at a different technique for blending things. Here's we're going to look at a different approach to blending here, a little more complicated. So we've got these three layers here. There's the second layer, there's the third layer, and this layer is actually being used in a different way. But here's the third shot. So we have three shots: this shot, and that shot. Okay. So what I wanted to do in this particular shot, what I was interested in is the light areas, right? So if I change my blend mode for this layer from normal to lighten, you can kind of see that I'm adding this splash of light over here and these little highlights. Those are the only things that get lighter with this layer. Okay. So, but I don't want all of these little marks here. These little reflections that I don't like, I can actually hide with a layer mask. So if I enable that layer mask, you can kind of see now I've painted off those areas that I didn't like, so I'm only keeping the highlights that I do like. But now there's stuff that I'd like to get these Scotland labels to show up more strongly, and they actually do show up really strongly in this layer here, and you can kind of see Scotland shows up very strongly there. So what I want to do is use a different type of layer mask. And in this case, I black out almost everything except the little bits of Scotland that I wanted to show through against the light background. You see here, they're not really that visible. But on the darker background, now I can actually read Scotland. And now all I have to do is add a little bit of layer mask, layer adjustment, curves adjustment layer here through a layer mask to highlight that little Scotland label and bring that back. So you can kind of see using layer masks and blend modes, I can do a little bit more elaborate mixing of the light. And here's the final layer I'm putting on is this layer, which I'm going to change to lighten mode. And now I've changed the feeling of that background. And all together, this is creating a fairly elaborate lighting system, all with one flashlight. So very cool. And let's take a look at another example. So here's three lights, three setups, three different light directions, right? And this time, I'm going to do something completely different. I'm going to send this layer into just one of the channels. We'll put it in the blue channel. So how do we do that? Where it's a layer, we can go over here to blending options. Now these are different blending options other than, we have access, let's say, to different blending options other than the normal one here, right? So I'm going to go over here, blending options, and we get this dialog here. I'll put it over here. Now what we're concerned with here is this advanced blending area. Okay, so I'm going to look at that a little closer, and what I'm going to do is uncheck the red and the green channels. All right, so it's blending in normal blend mode, but I'm putting it into all three channels, right? So if I take out the red and the green, I'm left with only this image in the blue channel. Kind of cool, right? So let's accept that. I'm going to turn on the next layer. Now this layer, it's got light in a different direction. I'm going to put that into the green channel. So we'll go again into my blending options here. And this time we're going to uncheck the blue channel and the red channel. So now we have the images from these layers going into the blue channel and the green channel. So, right, so only the green channel is checked. And so that is just going into the green channel and providing this green color. And you guessed it, what we're going to do next is put this channel into the red channel. And here's a shortcut for getting into that dialog, that blending options dialog. If you double click in the empty area of the layer here, you'll call up that same layer style dialog. Again, we're looking at that advanced blending area here. And this time we're going to uncheck the blue and the green, and we'll have the red. And so now we have this sort of rainbow color effect going on. I like to call this the false color lighting effect. And I have a whole course, a whole online course that goes into this advanced technique in more detail. All right, let's take a look at, this is very simple. You can only see three layers. If I go down to the bottom layer again, that's my blue channel. I add the green channel and the red channel, and the trick is that the light direction changes for each channel. So here's an example of an image it's got many more layers, just to show you how complicated this can get as you really explore this stuff. If we look down at the bottom layer here, I'll just Option or Alt click on the eye in the bottom layer, and I turn off everything. You can see that layer is now in the green channel. And to make it play nice with the layers that are coming up above it, I decided to darken that channel down just a little bit. So I used a curve here, curve layer, to just darken that green image in the green channel. Then we're going to add a blue channel image again, and that's blended in normal mode, but I'm using the layer options here to send it into the blue channel. So only the blue channel is checked. And the next one comes up, and that is the red channel, different lighting direction. And then I have another lighting direction where the stem of the wine glass is lit up better, and that's over here. I've got a layer mask isolating just that portion of it. If I disable the layer mask, here, I'll just disable that layer mask. You can kind of see that's the whole layer showing up here, the upper part of it anyway, because it's in lighten mode. right? But I only want to use this one little portion of it. I don't want the rest of it in, so I use a layer mask there. I'll turn that layer mask back on. You can kind of see that now I'm masking everything off except the wine stem of the wine glass. And now I want to add stuff into this dark area in the foreground. So I had a couple other shots here. There's a red channel shot. There's a blue channel shot. And then here is the green, and I add a couple of, I add a curves adjustment here, just to darken things down just a little bit. And then a final curve to put a little vignette around it. And you can kind of see now I've got way more than just 3 layers, but it's a more complicated kind of effect. Let's take a look at a couple more examples like this with the rainbow colors that I shot for this Phototech Tuesday. Again, the wine glass, this time turned upside down, and 3 different lighting directions in the 3 different channels. Same thing here. This time it's just all about the cast shadows from the direction of the light. And again, you can kind of play around with this, change which channel you're putting which layer into, and you can get a completely different image. This is a kind of interesting little crystal ball my wife gave me once, and has the whole galaxy in it. Very, very cool. Here's another shot. Again, the three layers going to 3 different channels. It's another similar thing. All shot with a flashlight, just moving it in between different shots, and then placing these different shots into the different channels, red, green, and blue, of the image. And it works when it works well when the camera's on a tripod and the subject itself doesn't move. So the only thing that's changing is the direction of the light, and putting that in the different channels gives us these very cool rainbow color effects. A couple more examples, a little more elaborate. And here, this one is on seamless paper, so there's no horizon. It just curves gently up into the background, and we get the interesting curving shadows against the background. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and hopefully this has provided some inspiration for your own creative explorations. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss another Phototech Tuesday. If you're looking for more in-depth Photoshop tutorials, I have a number of video courses available from my online school at Varis.com. Look under the Education menu for online courses, and there you can pick from 17 courses covering all aspects of post-production, workflow, retouching, and special effects, including my full course on the 10-channel workflow and my course on 21st century lighting techniques, lighting and layers in Photoshop. This detailed step-by-step video course covers all the techniques you saw in this video, plus many more. All 9 projects in the course contain all the work files downloadable so you can follow along with me. Check it out at Varis.com. And you might consider joining us for a travel adventure. Check out our trips and in-person workshops at our website, BobbyandLee'sPhotoAdventures.com. Our Venice Carnival photo adventure is nearly full, with time running out to sign up. Our next photo adventure will be our street shooting tour of the ethnically diverse neighborhoods of New York. Our last photo adventure for the coming year will be an amazing once-in-a-lifetime India for Beginners, a first-class luxury tour including the Taj Mahal, glamping tiger safari, and Pushkar Camel Festival, October 17th through 29th. Check out the website for more info. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on our next adventure. Oh, and again, Happy New Year, everybody.